Well, joining us now to answer a few questions on war criminals is senior investigative analyst Jeffrey Young. Hello, Jeff.
It's good to see you.
Now, first, we know this conviction of Habre, Hissene Habre, was historic in Africa. Nobody thought it will ever happen. There are some updates, actually.
Yes, there is. His court-appointed defense attorneys have now filed an appeal against his sentence of life in prison for war crimes and crimes against humanity.
But at least for some who have been looking or seeking for justice over the years, they feel like this gives them hope. And we know that there's still a few guys out there. But what does this tell them? They cannot just sleep and have a good dream.
They used to move about with impunity. I mean, Habre was living in Senegal for many years before the case was actually brought against him at the Extraordinary African Chamber in Senegal Tribunal, which was put up by the African Union. But it took 16 years to get this prosecution going.
Which is tough usually. It's because you can't get the witnesses, especially when the person is living in a different country. And how has the U.S. been dealing with such things, especially getting evidence against a person?
As I mentioned in the report that I just did, there are two legal mechanisms in the United States to deal with this. One of them is called the Alien Tort Statute that dates back from the founding of the United States. And that gives federal courts jurisdiction to hear cases that are filed by human rights victims whose injuries took place outside the United States. Now, the second one is called the Torture Victims Protection Act. And that was enacted in 1991. And that provides, it allows for federal civil suits against persons who have committed acts of torture or extrajudicial killing overseas. So there's two American legal mechanisms by which people who were harmed outside the United States can get justice and redress within the U.S. federal court system. And
sometimes also a little tricky to pin down people because especially if you think about the case of the guy who was a Somali operative then, it all depends on people actually identifying him and somebody coming forward and trying to sue this person.
Well, Yusuf Abdi Ali, the Somali national who had been living in the United States for 20 years and was found working as a security guard at Dulles Airport, his case is a civil case that's being brought by the Center for Justice and Accountability. It was brought against him under both the Alien Tort Statute and the Torture Victims Protection Act, okay? But what happened in the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals was the provisions under which the Alien Tort Statute was being employed were tossed out. But the case continues under the Torture Victims Protection Act.
A strong warning to all those who may have committed crimes and are just lying low somewhere, right? Thanks a lot.